Today I'm sharing with you the strongest PvP build I have ever played inside of Diablo Immortal. We're focusing in on the Barbarian class today, specifically the Hammer of the Ancients. I want to make sure that this build is documented on my channel forever for all of you to try, and if I ever leave Barbarian, so that I can come back and throw this class back together. I'm going to take you through every single part of this build so you could take care of it yourself. Let's start off right here and take a look at the skills that we're using. We're coming in with the primary attack Lacerate, followed by Wrath of the Berserker, Chain Spear, Hammer of the Ancients is our major damage dealer with this build, and Undying Rage. Being that we're focusing here on PvP, you want to make sure that you can extend that life. Continuing that life saving, we're going to be using Savior on our Familiar. The Familiar grants a one-time protection from death, including damage immunity for 3 seconds. All right, important that you have this pet if you are able to pick that up from the market or just get it done yourself with a little bit of luck. Charm that I'm wearing is nothing fancy. It's just got a couple of Wrath of the Berserker and Undying Rage on here and a bunch of other Barbarian skills. I don't go crazy with charms. I just try and charm out it based on the class itself. But what is important are the green items. We're coming with a 4-piece Vathu. Increases the duration of all beneficial effects on you or your party members by 30%, and increases the target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds each time you use a skill to grant a beneficial effect to yourself or a party. So every time you're slamming down that hammer and having those beneficial effects, you're going to be able to get your speed up as well, which is quite strong. Now, we're going with another one that may be a little bit surprising to you, and that is Untouchable Mount Bank. So we're going with a defensive set, a 4-piece of that. Each time you take damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a shield that absorbs damage equal to 13% of your maximum life. Can occur more often than every 9 seconds. And then we're basically making that shield stronger with the 4-piece set. Mount Bank's shield damage absorption increased to 33% of your maximum life. And then you could move unhindered through enemies while the shield is active, which is quite important as well. I will most likely use this same set combination if I use any melee class in PvP across the board. Obviously, we can mess around with those types of things. Let's take a look at some of the gear that we're wearing right here. I'm coming in with the Sneer, and notice what I have here as the magic items. The Wrath of the Berserker. These are pretty special, and I don't even have it 4 out of 4. Wrath of the Berserker has a 20% chance to trigger an explosion every 5 seconds, dealing 9,000 damage to all enemies. Pretty important. If you can get this 4 out of 4, this magic attribute on 4 pieces of your gear, you're going to be doing a lot of damage from that as well. I'm coming in with a not even max level Viper's Bite and the legendary essence. During Wrath of the Berserker, your critical hit chance is increased by 19%. And then the cooldown is decreased by 10% because all of my slots are awakened, because every single slot that I'm working with here has a gem ranked 5 or higher within, even with the 5-star gems. Let's take a look at the Shackled Fate. Here, the magic attribute, we're not even utilizing it. We have the cheat death chance increased right over here. We're going with a rank 5, 3 out of 5-star Blood-Soaked Jade. I'm currently in the process of upgrading that to a 4 out of 5-star. That should happen soon enough. And the legendary essence we're using here is Chains of the Ancients. Chain Spear now conjures a Spirit of the Ancients for a short time that repeatedly casts Chain Spear, damaging, slowing, and pulling in nearby enemies. The damage of Chain Spear is increased by 18%, and then again it's increased by an additional 10% because of the awakened slot. Now we have the Loathsome Lamina, and check this one out. Hammer of the Ancients deals 40% increased critical hit damage against stunned enemies. We have this on 2 of our pieces. Remember, the main damage dealer that we use here is Hammer of the Ancients, so this is a really good magic attribute to utilize on this build. And we're going in with a rank 10, 2-star Fervent Fang Gem. Legendary Essence, Wrath of the Berserker also grants you a shield for 6 seconds that absorbs 26,000 damage. The shield effect is increased by 54%. Wrath of the Berserker cooldown is decreased by 10%. This is a different shoulder piece than most people use if they use this build. I like the shield. It allows me to get into battle and then to escape battle with even more protection. We have Mount Bank, we have this as well, and we have Savior, and we're using Undying Rage. We have a lot of survivability with this build and a lot of damage as well. Now, something I hadn't talked about, we're going with the cursed properties as well. I typically go with Lashed as a 4-piece, and I'll actually show you the other one in just a minute. We're going with Buried Talons. Again, Hammer of the Ancients deals the 40% crit. We have a rank 10 Pain Clasp, 2-star gem inside of this one. Chain Spear also increases your damage by 19% for 3 seconds, and the cooldown is decreased by 10%. Also, I go with these bonus attributes. I try and go with beneficial effects. Duration is increased, damage taken reduced by players or given to players increased. Like right here, damage done to enemies below 30% life increased. Skill damage is increased. Primary attack damage is increased. Anything that sounds like it would help you in PvP most likely will, and those are what I try and throw on there. We're going with the first primary weapon, which is Rage Caller. Again, Wrath of the Berserker as the magic attribute. We're also getting some increased critical hit damage. We're going with a 4 out of 5 star, rank 5 Bottled Hope gem, one of the best gems inside of the game. And the legendary essence here, Hammer of the Ancients, is now also electrified, slowing enemy movement by 50% for 3 seconds, and the cooldown is decreased by 10%. Let's go with the second stance primary weapon. It's Stonefall. I do have some nice critical hit damage increased on here, and skill damage and base item damage increased. We're going with a 4 out of 5 star Seeping Bile. Now, this gem could probably be replaced. Actually, a few of these gems could probably be replaced with others. There are some gems that would probably be better for PvP that are 5 star. I'll show you those in a moment, but you know what? I stick with what I've been going with, and it's been working quite well. The legendary essence here, Hammer of the Ancients, damage is increased by 19%, and the cooldown is decreased by 10%. Pretty simple, but pretty important as well. Let's look at the secondary main weapon, Flickerstone. I actually like this here. Check this out. Resistance. Shields also grant you immunity to 2 hits of damage. This is huge. Cannot occur more often than once every 12 seconds. And then another one for resistance. Gain a shield equal to 15% of your maximum life for 5 seconds when falling below 10% life. Can occur more often than every 30. So much savior elements that we have here. We're going with a 4 out of 5 star rank 5 Gloom Cask gem. And the legendary essence is Restless Hammer. Hammer of the Ancients now charges enemy with each of your other attacks, which is consumed on use to increase its damage and strike radius. The damage is increased by 18%, and again, because it's an awakened slot, by an additional 10%. Flickerstone is key to this build. If you do not have Flickerstone on this build, you will not be able to strike with your hammer as often as you need to see the build's success. So that is a must-have essence. If you don't have it, you will have a very different experience in PvP. Now, the second stance secondary weapon is Berg Breaker. And we have a 4 out of 5 star, rank 5 Void Spark gem. This is probably the gem that could be, I could probably take out of here before any other. By the way, we have the Gloom Cask in the previous, if I didn't share. And the legendary essence is Retaliation. Wrath of the Berserker now causes you to retaliate, dealing damage to nearby enemies when you're attacked. Damage is increased by 18%, and the cooldown again is decreased by that 10%. So those are all the primary and secondary pieces of gear, the charm, and all of that. My attributes, you'll see I'm sitting with almost 42,000 combat rating, and we have resonance of 3,115. So nothing too crazy. The Paragon tree that we're working with is Brawler. I'm going to show you that Paragon tree in a moment. Let's actually go take a look at that right now. Before that, actually, let's talk about the cursed properties. We're going with Nettled, 4 pieces. After you gain a shield for the next 6 seconds, every time you're hit, will counter attack. We have a lot of shields with this build. Nettled works great. And Lashed, your primary attack now has a chance to generate 3 crackling whips that target enemy dealing a bunch of damage to them. So that one is also really nice. And I did want to show you, I wanted to show you the Paragon tree that we're currently running. And here it is. We have Defender of Sanctuary, Heavy Armor, Rugged, Combat Expertise, and Finishing Touch. And then we're using Benefactor as our legendary skill. Now, a lot of people will say, why not use Gladiator? Fatal attacks from players instead reduce you to 1 life. This would be a third survival style element that we would have in this build. You definitely can use this. I choose to use the other, but we have our pet and we have Wrath of the Berserker. I'm sorry, we have Undying Rage. So already 2 ways to cheat death. I don't feel it's as important to have a third, where I'd rather go with this Paragon tree instead, getting some other buffs that are going to help us just drop massive damage. Now let me show you really quickly. Let's just go into the open world somewhere so I can show you how this can actually look. We'll go into the frozen tundra. This looks good. We'll navigate there because I want to show you just how we basically are going to spam the attacks, what the sequence is going to look like, because that's pretty important. Now, one of your skills you're never going to touch, and that is the Undying Rage. You're going to use Wrath of the Berserker as long as your beneficial attack duration is on point all the time. In place of sprint, your movement is going to be there. Then you're going to always be popping Chain Spear. Pop Chain Spear whenever you can. Notice the lightning we have popping out everywhere. And then boom, Hammer of the Ancients. We can just continuously slam down Hammer of the Ancients. Let's find some enemies. We got some right here. Yep, Chain Spear. Boom. And we could just do this over and over again pretty quickly. Every second we could drop that. Check that out. A nice little weapon that dropped right here for us. So here, Chain Spear, come on in. You could come on in with a primary attack and you could drop Hammer. So when you're on PC, I'm holding down primary attack with my mouse and I am then just slapping on Hammer of the Ancients as I do those attacks. Wrath of the Berserker, again, not ever touching Undying Rage. That's how we do it. You drop a lot of damage, you get them slowed from Hammer of the Ancients, you get them stunned, you have crazy crit, you have electricity going everywhere, and you are protected with shields from the heavens. This build, I absolutely love. It has been the best build I've ever used inside of the game for PvP, and it's one that I highly recommend. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.